A 50-meter superyacht on the open Mediterranean. Sun deck, helipad, crew of 14. The image is complete. Now here is the number that completes the rest of the picture. The purchase price of a new 50-meter motor yacht in 2026 is approximately $20 million. The annual cost to keep it running, crew, fuel, insurance, maintenance, berths, management, is between $2.4 million and $3.6 million per year. Every year, whether the owner steps aboard for 12 weeks or 12 days. That is not a rough estimate. That is the 12 to 15% annual operating cost benchmark confirmed in 2026 by Burgess, Fraser, and MIBA industry data. The purchase price is the smallest part of this transaction. Here is what this actually costs. The entry price for a superyacht, defined by the industry as any vessel above 24 meters in length, spans from approximately $3 million for a used 25-meter vessel to over $600 million for a custom-built mega yacht. The segment most relevant to this analysis is the 40 to 60-meter motor yacht, which represents the highest volume tier of the global fleet by unit transaction count. In 2026, a new 50-meter motor yacht from a reputable European builder, Fedship, Lursen, Heeson, or Benetti, costs between $18 million and $30 million, depending on specification. A comparable vessel, 5 to 8 years old, trades between $8 million and $16 million. The purchase price is not the entry cost. The entry cost includes everything that must be paid before the vessel is operational in the owner's hands. Import duty applies in most jurisdictions. In European Union waters, importing a non-EU flagged yacht triggers value-added tax of up to 20% of the vessel's appraised value if the boat will be used within EU territorial waters. On a $20 million vessel, VAT exposure is up to $4 million, a number a significant proportion of first-time buyers discover after the wire has cleared. Structuring the ownership to avoid or defer this liability requires specific flagging, corporate structures, and charter program enrollment, all of which carry their own costs. A pre-purchase survey, a marine surveyor's complete inspection of the hull, engines, electronics, and safety systems, costs $15,000 to $40,000 for a vessel of this size. It is not optional for any buyer acting with due diligence. Engine and systems specialists charge separately from the hull surveyor. Add $10,000 to $25,000. Legal and brokerage fees, standard brokerage commission on a superyacht transaction is 10% of the sale price, split between buyers and sellers' brokers. On a $20 million vessel, total brokerage is $2 million. The buyer typically absorbs 5%, $1 million, unless otherwise negotiated. Flagging and registration. Registering a yacht under a flag state, the Cayman Islands and the British Virgin Islands are the most common for international superyachts. Costs $8,000 to $25,000 initially and requires annual renewal. The Cayman Islands Shipping Registry charges approximately $4,000 per year for a vessel in this class. Insurance must be in place before the vessel moves from the seller's berth. A $20 million superyacht insured for worldwide navigation through a Lloyd's market hull and machinery policy costs approximately 1.0% to 1.5% of insured value annually, $200,000 to $300,000 per year. The first year's premium is due immediately at delivery. Total entry cost for a $20 million superyacht, excluding purchase price, approximately $1.3 million to $5.4 million, depending on tax structuring, jurisdiction, and condition of the vessel at survey. Total out-of-pocket before the first voyage, $21.3 million to $25.4 million. The operating cost of a superyacht is not a single number. It is a stack of recurring obligations, most of which run whether the owner is on board or not. The vessel does not stop costing money when it is at anchor. Crew, 30 to 40% of annual operating cost. A 50-meter motor yacht requires a minimum of 10 to 14 professional crew for safe and comfortable operation. A captain, chief officer, chief engineer, bosun, 2 deckhands, chef, chief steward or stewardess, 2 to 3 interior crew, and in many cases a second engineer. According to the YPI Crew 2026 salary guide, a captain on a 50-meter vessel earns €120,000 to €192,000 in annual base salary, approximately $130,000 to $210,000. The chief officer and chief engineer each add €70,000 to €100,000. The remaining crew, combined with benefits, travel to the vessel, health insurance, training certificates, and provisioning allowances, brings total crew cost for a fully crewed 50-meter yacht to $900,000 to $1.4 million per year. This figure is cited across Burgess and MIBA benchmarks for 2026. It does not include crew gratuities paid by charter guests, which are a separate line. Maintenance, 14 to 18% of annual operating cost. A $20 million vessel at 14 to 18% annual maintenance expenditure spends $250,000 to $400,000 per year in routine scheduled maintenance, hull cleaning every 3 to 4 months to prevent biofouling, engine servicing at manufacturer-specified intervals, generator overhaul, electronics calibration, paintwork, brightwork, and mechanical systems inspection. This is the maintenance budget in a normal year, a year with no significant repairs. Engine overhauls are not included in routine maintenance. A major engine overhaul on a twin-screw vessel of this size costs $200,000 to $400,000 and occurs on a cycle of 10,000 to 15,000 running hours. Every 5 years, a significant refit, structural work, interior refresh, coating systems renewal, costs $2 million to $5 million for a 50-meter vessel, per First Owner's Reference 2026 data. Insurance, 10 to 14% of annual operating cost. As noted, the hull and machinery premium for a $20 million vessel under worldwide navigation cover runs $200,000 to $300,000 per year. Protection and indemnity insurance, covering crew injury, third-party liability, and environmental damage, adds $30,000 to $60,000. Total insurance, $230,000 to $360,000 annually. Berths and marina fees, 8 to 12% of annual operating cost. A superyacht does not park for free. A winter berth in a Mediterranean marina for a 50-meter vessel costs $40,000 to $120,000 per season, depending on location. Monaco's Port Hercule charges among the highest rates in the world. A 50-meter berth in peak season runs approximately $3,000 to $5,000 per day. Palma de Mallorca and Antibes are more moderate at $800 to $1,500 per day for the same vessel. Over a full year, combined Mediterranean and Caribbean berth costs for an actively cruising vessel run $150,000 to $250,000. Fuel, 8 to 12% of annual operating cost. A 50-meter displacement motor yacht burns approximately 200 to 350 liters of marine diesel per hour at cruising speed. At Mediterranean diesel prices of $130 to $180.92 per liter in 2026, and at 400 cruising hours per year, a moderate usage assumption, annual fuel cost runs €104,000 to €252,000. At higher usage or with a higher speed planing hull, this figure climbs past €350,000. Sources: First Owner's Reference 2026 fuel consumption data. Management fees, 3 to 5%. Most superyacht owners employ a professional yacht management company to handle crew payroll, compliance documentation, flag state renewals, technical supervision, and financial reporting. Management fees for a vessel of this size run $60,000 to $120,000 per year, with established firms such as Hill Robinson, Y.C.O., or Denison. Total annual operating cost, 50-meter vessel, $20 million purchase price. Crew, $1,150,000. Maintenance, $325,000. Insurance, $200,000. Berths, $200,000. Fuel, $180,000. Management, $90,000. Regulatory compliance and class survey, $40,000. Annual total, approximately $2,360,000 to $3,600,000. The 12 to 15% rule of annual operating cost against purchase price, cited across Burgess, MIBA, and Hype Luxury's June 2026 analysis, lands precisely in this range. 12% of $20 million is $2.4 million, 15% is $3 million. Optimistic scenario, everything goes right. Owner purchases a 50-meter motor yacht from a quality European builder for $20 million. VAT is legally deferred through charter enrollment under a qualified structure. The vessel enters a professional charter program with an established management company. Over 12 months, it achieves 18 charter weeks, the upper end of the realistic range, at an average net weekly rate of $95,000 after management commission. Net charter income, $1,710,000. Annual operating costs at the 12% benchmark, $2,400,000. Net annual shortfall, $690,000. The vessel depreciates 8% in year 1, $1,600,000 in value loss. Total first-year economic loss including depreciation, $2,290,000. The owner uses the vessel for 10 weeks personally and rates the experience as exceptional. Realistic scenario: 1 bad contract, 1 lawsuit, 1 equipment failure. In the vessel's second year, a charter guest disputes the APA settlement and withholds $40,000 in payment, requiring $25,000 in legal fees to recover. A summer squall in the Aegean causes $180,000 in gel coat and stanchion damage that falls partially below the hull insurance deductible, requiring $90,000 in out-of-pocket repair. The chief engineer resigns mid-season. Recruiting and flying a replacement costs $22,000 and leaves the vessel unable to charter for 2 weeks, losing $190,000 in booked revenue. The underperformance triggers a conversation with the management company about the vessel's charter positioning. A positioning review costs $15,000 and results in a price reduction that further compresses revenue. Revised net annual result: charter income falls from $1,710,000 to $1,340,000. Unplanned costs add $342,000. Net shortfall widens from $690,000 to $1,402,000. Including depreciation, total second-year economic loss, $3,002,000. The difference between those two scenarios is a payment dispute, a weather event, and a crew resignation. None of these are exotic disasters. All three happen to someone in this industry every week. The superyacht industry does not publish a comprehensive failure rate in the way that commercial real estate or retail tracks closures. But broker and management company data suggests that between 30% and 40% of first-time superyacht buyers exit ownership within 5 years of purchase, most citing operating costs materially above their initial projections. A pattern consistent with the industry-wide finding that first-time buyers underestimate annual operating budgets by 30 to 50%. Cited in Hype Luxury's June 2026 analysis, the primary cause of early exit is not dissatisfaction with the experience. It is financial structure. The owner entered with a capital reserve, adequate to purchase the vessel, but inadequate to absorb the full operating cost stack for 3 to 5 years, while the charter program matured and resale timing became favorable. The vessel is not the problem. The capitalization plan is. The owners who sustain long-term ownership through market cycles share 5 structural characteristics. First, they capitalized for operating costs before purchase, not after. Specifically, they held liquid reserves equal to 3 years of operating costs, approximately $9 million on a $20 million vessel, in immediately accessible accounts separate from the purchase capital. This reserve is not invested. It is the operating buffer that prevents a soft charter season or an unplanned refit from triggering a distressed sale. Second, they selected jurisdictions that eliminated or legally deferred VAT liability through structured charter enrollment before delivery. The difference between paying $4 million in EU import VAT and legally deferring it through a compliant commercial structure is the difference between adequate capitalization and an immediate post-purchase cash crisis. Third, they selected management companies on track record of charter bookings achieved, not on commission rate. A management company charging 18% that books 18 weeks generates more net income than a company charging 15% that books 12. Owners who focused on commission minimization rather than booking performance consistently underperformed their pro forma projections. Fourth, they maintained the vessel at Classification Society standards continuously rather than deferring maintenance to reduce short-term costs. Vessels that enter their 5-year special survey with deferred maintenance face rectification cost spikes of $500,000 to $1 million above what continuous maintenance would have cost. The deferred approach saves $50,000 annually and costs $750,000 in a single survey cycle. Fifth, they modeled charter rate compression as a base case. Owners who projected charter income using peak cycle rates and experienced a market normalization in year 2 or 3 had no structural response. Owners who projected at 15% below current market rates and stress-tested their operating model at 10 charter weeks instead of 18 entered soft markets with plan continuity rather than liquidity pressure. A $20 million superyacht, $2.4 million per year, minimum, whether it moves or not. $15.25 million in total economic loss over a 5-year hold after charter income and resale are factored in. The asset is not the vessel, it is the capitalization behind it. Subscribe, see you soon in next video.